Turn around now. That's it, straight back at the cameraman. Come back there. That's it, straight back towards the camera. Hold the flags up, don't let it touch the ground. Go, Ronnie.
6 weeks ago, Newcastle's BHP Steelworks closed its doors. 1,500 people were made redundant. The devastation was evident on each and every employee's face, but according to psychologist Professor Trevor Waring, the burden of being made redundant is usually shared with the worker's partner and family. A workshop was held today to address these concerns.
Where people have fairly well-defined roles, and then all of a sudden they're starting to question who they are and what their identity is and how they relate to each other, yes, if it's not looked into, then it can have quite a negative impact.
Organised by the Women's Forum of the Newcastle Business Chamber, the seminar is believed to be a first for the region.
Yes, in one sense I hope it's the last time, but I suspect that we're going to need more of these as the concept of work changes.
While the displacement of BHP's workforce is still fresh in many people's minds, according to Professor Waring, they were perhaps the lucky ones in terms of assistance from a company.
The thing with the BHP, of course, is that there was a lot done to assist those who are going to be unemployed, whereas there are many who work in small places who don't have that sort of assistance.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
From all of us in country communities who have lost on country roads, a father, a wife,
my twin daughter.
It's a road safety campaign aimed firmly at the heartstrings. This time around, the state government is using the families of car crash victims at roadside memorials to get the message across. The campaign is centred on country drivers. So far, they've defied a state trend that's seen the overall road toll drop over the last 2 years.
There has been a very, very worrying and disappointing trend in country New South Wales.
The state government claims country drivers hold the perception that it's their city counterparts who are being killed while driving in the country. However, statistics show that 7 out of 10 victims of road crashes live in the country.
There is a perception in the bush that it's okay not to wear a seatbelt, that they're more experienced in driving on country roads.
The ad campaign will be aired in the weeks leading up to the Christmas holidays. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Those are erroneous. It's not correct.
After years of sitting idle on the corner of Scott and Watch Streets, the Great Northern has opened its doors.
Well, truthfully, I think they've done a wonderful job, and I think the East End needs something like this.
of course, it's got to be better than what was here. It was an eyesore, just sitting there doing nothing. They've done well.
$1 million has seen the foyer restored to the original Art Deco theme in accordance with Heritage Council requirements, but the bar has been rebuilt with an Irish theme.
The bar may be an issue, but it's the rest of the building and the foyer that they should be looking at and see the wonderful job that's been done in restoring it.
The issue is that the Heritage Council says the bar should also have been decked out in its original Art Deco theme, and that the developer needed to gain both the Heritage and Newcastle Council's approval before going ahead.
The Heritage Council are meeting tomorrow. We'll get advice arising from that, and if there's need to take action, Council will consider that.
And while the Lord Mayor would rather see the Great Northern operating than not, he says Council will be meeting its planning obligations.
And we'll apply those strictly, but we'll also apply them sensibly.
They're Australia's and possibly the world's air fighting elite, the RAF's team of Hornet pilots. 9 new faces are set to join their ranks, but first they're flying an hour and 20 minutes north to Townsville for their first major bombing exercise.
Get the use of the big ranges and the overwater area, which is less populated, and that's where they'll do their large HE operations, high explosive operations.
The young guns, with an average age of just 23, will be supported by 150 crew, who lifted off in a 7:07 minutes earlier. Over the last 5 months, the pilots have been put through a rigorous training program. It's estimated to cost between $3 and $4 million to train one pilot. On graduation, the fighter pilots will be posted to either Williamtown or Tyndall's 75th Squadron in the Northern Territory.
They'll still be treated as a bog rat when they hit the squadrons, but they'll be fighter pilots, and that'll be near and dear to their heart.
Blake Doyle, NBN News. Now in its 9th year, the Port Stephens Boat and Leisure Show is still attracting thousands of boat lovers keen for a taste of the latest in the boating world.
Boating accessories, jet skis, fishing tackle, all the latest cruisers, yachts, all those sorts of things, everything that a boatie could need.
20,000 people are expected to file through Nelson Bay's Dalbora Marina, some with an eye for the expensive, others with dreams for the future. It's not just boats on offer. The marine supermarket this year features a mobile fishing display where crowds can check out the latest in rods and reels.
On Sunday afternoon we've got the inaugural Port Stephens ferry boat race starting from 5 o'clock. All the proceeds from that will be going to the Dream Fund for Dolphin Research.
Rail controllers will return to work tonight, easing the problems for passengers.
Our members have accepted an offer from the State Rail Authority to return to work at 23.45 in return for the 8% pay increase they've been awarded.
After 3 days of negotiations, workers from the Australian Services Union won their work value claim late this afternoon. The pay rise is to be implemented immediately. In fact, the rise has been backdated by a few months. It's a victory for the workers, most of whom will return to work tonight.
A number of our members are going to return to work early tonight to work the Brisbane Express train through Newcastle and on to Brisbane.
However, the strike had caused major delays, particularly for CountryLink travellers, including those throughout the north and northwest of the state. As well, nearly 4,000 City Rail commuters in the Hunter were affected by the 2 days of strike action. Adam Harper, NBN News.
A decade on, the fallout from the killing of Stockton teenager Lily continues. Matthew Webster pleaded guilty to the murder, but counsel assisting the Police Integrity Commission has recommended that the DPP be asked to consider laying criminal charges against 6 detectives involved in the investigation. The offences range from assault to attempting to pervert the course of justice. Today, the Police Association's Mark Burgess tried to put the recommendations into perspective.
They're certainly not the final report of the Commission, and of course the Commission will have to weigh up all of the evidence, including the submissions from the lawyers representing the police officers, before he makes any recommendations at all.
At the same time, allegations made by Kerry Carrington, who has written a book on the murder, that police sexually assaulted witnesses during the investigation were dismissed by the council assisting the Commission. The Police Association says it will now consider taking action against the author, and Mark Burgess is concerned that public money is being spent pursuing charges that won't be proved.
Oh, look, I think the public can't be happy about it when you think that this has gone for 10 years. There's been something like 3 or 4 major inquiries, significant amounts of public money expended, and still we haven't got a result.
Domestic ducks have flocked to Lakelands as a haven in recent years. This week they were labelled as a threat to the environment that should be removed. Now residents say some have already gone missing.
I was so angry that we'd only just heard about it, I'd only just heard about it during the week, both on the news and in the paper, and suddenly a couple of days later they're down here doing it.
Residents claim the Community Hall Committee wants to remove the ducks because of the mess they make, but Graham Dunlop says the health of the environment is his chief concern.
Domestic ducks eat the banks out from the water's edge out, whereas the native ducks, they range over a whole area.
With waters infested by carp, Graham Dunlop believes removing the domestic ducks is just one step needed to return the water basin to its original condition.
The cadet training ground of TS Hawkesbury has been operating since 1967 and has already seen more than 700 cadets pass through the doors.
They've certainly put in a hell of a lot of effort over the last 12 months, both to win the state title and now take out the national title over the top of 78 other units.
But the award was not the only honour the cadets received today. Coming up from Canberra to present the shield was Australia's Chief of Navy, David Shackleton. It's been up for grabs each year since 1959, when it was first offered as a form of encouragement.
These people are potentially future sailors and officers in the Navy.
And with only 50 cadets training at TS Hawkesbury, the national title is a sure sign that they've got what it takes to make it in the forces. Adam Harper, NBN News.
In the process of passing 2 other vehicles and lost control, skidded to the incorrect side of the road and collided with a vehicle coming in the opposite direction.
Australia's best-known bridge has been the stage of spectacular annual fireworks displays since the bicentenary, and the Hunter Valley man responsible for exploding the bridge each year says this New Year's Eve will be no exception. Les Irvine from Rutherford will lead a team of up to 40 people who will prepare the bridge for the big event.
Extreme precision and a lot of safety. There's a lot of safety aspects to be considered, and once you've got it all set up on the day, then you're going over it and over it to make sure, even to the point of where people will be, not so much spectators, but where the workers will be.
This year's display will involve the bridge, water barges and rooftop-mounted pyrotechnics, and Les says the 12 months of planning and countless hours preparation will be repaid in an instant.
It's a massive adrenaline rush. It really is. You really get hyped, and yeah, you just walk around for a little while afterwards till you get your feet back on the ground, if you like.
The $1 million fireworks display will form part of this year's $7 million spectacular on Sydney Harbour. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Newcastle's prime night spots have been targeted by a gang who've been attacking people walking home in the early hours of the morning.
What's actually happening is persons are approaching them in a happy mood, sometimes offering to shake their hands, etc., and getting into a conversation and then suddenly turning on them, and a number of other people will then come in and assault these people.
There's been at least 20 attacks in the past month, with some victims being seriously injured while others are robbed. Police say the attackers have been described as Aboriginal or Islander in appearance, and all their victims have been walking alone or with one other person. Police are advising late-night revellers to be careful in the vicinity of King Street McDonald's, the Castle, the Workers' Club or Fanny's.
It's just a matter of taking a little bit more care and maybe not being in single or small numbers walking around the streets later at night.
Members from the 5 supporting councils gathered today to congratulate the effort made by Hunter Builders to implement a waste management plan.
This is the building industry working with the Hunter Waste Board and the 5 local councils to have a waste minimisation development control plan.
With the Hunter region rapidly growing in population, waste management has become a serious issue.
What we have in the Hunter is, I think, an excellent step that hopefully will be taken up by other councils across New South Wales so that we can get a reduction to landfill of 60%.
But now the plan has swung into action and will provide benefits to more than just the environment.
So the community receives environmental benefits, but also economic benefits in terms of cost reductions for homes, housing and other developments.
Originally, Hunter councils had hoped to reduce building waste by up to 60%, but some have managed to reach and even exceed that target. More than 250 people gathered at Newcastle University today to hear from people like American professor John Dufresne.
It's so astounding to me, the similarities of strong families from country to country and culture to culture are much more apparent than the differences.
The professor has been studying the family for more than 20 years and in that time has learnt a few pearls of wisdom.
Look for the positive in people's lives too. You know, yes, it's important to think about problems and difficulties that we have in life, but don't forget that almost all families have some strengths and some real capacities to learn and grow.
It's the first conference of its kind in Australia and goes for 3 days. And in that time, various speakers will share their accrued knowledge so that future families may have a head start in being a healthy family. Adam Harper, NBN News.
It's the season for giving and receiving, but according to the Samaritans, there is little giving from the most affluent group in society. Director Seth Shevel says baby boomers are a selfish generation, but their lack of charity is born out of ignorance and a blessed upbringing. He's urging them to reform and consider others less fortunate.
Well, they're a group that have had a lot of benefits through the taxation system. They've enjoyed the free education and the benefits that their parents gave them, but they now need to have a look at how they're going to contribute to the rest of the community.
Mr. Shevel says compared to America, Australia has a woeful track record when it comes to being charitable.
In the United States, people give about 5 times as much to charities as we do. We still think the government will provide, but we've accepted the tax cuts. We can't have it both ways. If we accept the tax cuts, we have to do more as individuals.
Those on an age pension are most likely to donate presents, money and time, but for those in the 40 to 50 age bracket, it seems the spirit of sharing only extends to immediate friends and family, and those that most need help are left out in the cold.
It's been estimated that we're going to spend nearly $2 billion on Christmas gifts this year in New South Wales alone. What we're suggesting is that the people that are going out there spending that sort of money might have a thought about giving something to a family that can't have any Christmas gifts at all.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News. With only 5 weeks to go until Christmas, the party season is about to hit with a vengeance. The Public Health Unit is bracing itself for an expected increase in the number of cases of food poisoning, mostly due to the increase in parties and the hot weather.
We're starting to get into the warmer weather now, and it's sitting out at around 25, 26 degrees. Doesn't really help the bacterial growth.
Food Inspector Amanda Morn says those hosting events should take all the basic precautions, including making sure they get a reputable caterer, or if it's a do-it-yourself job, ensure finger food is cooked properly and isn't left to sit for hours. As for those indulging in the party food, it's a simple message. Using leftover food to soak up alcohol at the end of the night is well and good, but not if the food has been left to the elements. Experts say you could end up with more than just a hangover.
Not to eat food that's been left out for more than 4 hours, because you don't tend to know what's happening bacterial-wise then. So that's what normally causes the food poisonings.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News. If you think Christian radio offers a more subdued form of music for listeners, then think again.
And those at Newcastle's Rima FM should know. Since its inception almost 15 years ago, a loyal band of followers and stations were created around the country, with 27 other Rima stations now in operation. But unbelievably, the birthplace of Christian radio has been one of the last to be granted a permanent licence by the Australian Broadcasting Authority.
Long time coming. Don't think there was any doubt that we knew we were going to get it. It's just the wait. 6, 9 to 5.
And that future is promising more diversity over the airwaves, with all styles of music and audiences in mind.
We get to increase our wattage. We go from 4,000 to 10, which will enable us to actually reach a whole lot of other people. And now we can actually plan long term.
The station will begin transmitting on 99.7 FM from the 1st of December. Helen Kapalos, NBN News.
Basically come to the decision that they're going to reduce our membership by 50% on the boats without any other reason than we can see, other than just purely being profit driven.
With just one win and 4 draws this season, there's cause for concern in the Breakers camp.
We're going to pick ourselves up off the floor and start to get going.
Last week, the Breakers played out a listless 1-1 draw with the Adelaide Force, who played with just 9 men for most of the game. It was a familiar story at the match post-mortem, the Breakers playing just 20 minutes of intense football.
I think it's more from the neck up our problem at the moment than anything else. It's not our ability, it's more the concentration levels and the intensity that they put in for the full period of time and not just half of it or a quarter of it.
Despite the pressure, Coach Sterry won't be making any wholesale changes to the side.
There's not many people coming off the bench that are doing jobs at the moment, and until that happens, well, you're going to stick with the people that have been playing on a consistent basis.
Glenn Spride will lead the Breakers down to Canberra after captain Shane Price was suspended last week. The Breakers were beaten 3-0 when they travelled to Canberra last season. This time they'll be coming up against a vastly improved side which has so far notched up 3 wins. The Breakers play Canberra on Friday night. Blake Doyle, NBN News.